In today's episode of the Leica podcast,
we've got some incredible images, and this was not one that I had conceptualized, but something kept telling me, you've got to climb that ladder. I actually want to say here is that, I met my husband through photography.
Yes. Oh, this makes me so happy.
I have to say, I put this one here for you.
How did this image come to life? And how did you have the composure to stay in that moment?
It's a feeling that I don't know how to describe. There is something that this tool, it's just, I love it. It's something that maybe brings me back full circle to the teenager that picked up a film camera.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to How I See, a Leica podcast. Today, I'm here with Melissa Field. Melissa, I'm so excited to have you on. I feel like this has been a long time coming over the course of building a relationship between Leica, and I've gotten to get to know you over, I think it's been 2 or 3 years now. So to be able to actually sit down and have a conversation with you means a lot to me. So welcome in, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and likewise, it's an honor.
I think the best place to start, and the place I always like to start, is just where did your journey with photography actually begin?
Okay, so it's a long one.
Go ahead.
I was around approximately 13 or 14, I can't quite remember, but my mother's best friend was studying photography as a hobby at the time, and she came over to our house and was like, here you go, you play with this, and as a teenager, I just picked up this camera and I photographed the things that you would think a teenager would photograph, my mom, my auntie, my cat. Took it to school, photographed my friends, took it to some places that I would go on the weekend, photograph that. And for me, it was this feeling of the first time in my life when nothing was noisy or busy and everything was just slowed down. And I didn't understand then, but it was presence. And it captivated me. And then once I got in the dark room, I was obsessed, and I'm really grateful for that moment because it kind of changed everything in my life and I didn't know it then. And so after that, I got a job, and my first job, I saved all of my money to buy film and gas for my car, or petrol. Sorry, I'm Australian, so every Australian would laugh at that. Petrol for my car, just those two things so I could document life. And it took me around 10 years to realize that the corporate direction that I was going in, the career that I was doing after high school, was not actually the thing that was fulfilling. And the only constant thing for me was photography. And at 24, I went all in. I changed everything that I was doing. I had a great job. I loved it. But I just decided, life's short and this is the thing I love and I'm going to try it out. And I dove head first. But it was full circle, this moment of everything I've ever done, I now get to do as something I love as a hobby, but now I'm turning it into a career. And, now we're 10 years past that date. So I think the best thing I ever did was give myself a chance to follow that, that burning passion that I felt when picking up a camera.
What was it like to take that leap? Did you feel ready, or did you kind of just know that in your heart, you knew that it was something that you had to do?
I feel, so it's twofold. I feel I knew I had to try. I feel I'd heard so many stories from past generations where they say, I wish I did this, or I wish I followed this. And maybe they didn't have the privilege of time or the privilege of opportunity to do so. And so just hearing those sort of stories of I wish, I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. I'd rather try and fail than get to X amount in my life and look back and say, I wish. And the other thing was really scary at the time. I made a phone call to my mother, and my mother's my now late mother, but she was living in a different state. And I was down in Victoria, Melbourne, Australia. And I called her, and I remember being scared to be I'm giving up this corporate career. This thing that everyone tells you, society, she never put this pressure on me, but society tells you, climb this ladder. And I remember just being scared. She was the first person I was going to say it out loud to. And so I called her and I said, I think I'm going to give this photography thing a go. And my mom's response was, Melissa, about time.
She knew before you did.
I had no idea that so it was her and her best friend, apparently for the last decade, they had been waiting for me to realize that that was my path. And they never pushed it on me. They never even said a word. They waited for me to discover that that's what I wanted to do. And I remember just, as I said, I wasn't nervous of like that she would be upset with me, but I was just nervous to say it out loud.
Yeah.
You know, the first person that I'm going to say it out loud to. And she was like, about time. I was like, oh, wow. If that's not the encouragement I need to just dive right in, if my mom believes in me, I can believe in myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
When you initially took the leap, do you have any advice for people who may be teetering on that edge of maybe taking that jump on how to kind of get started, whether it be believing in yourself or then going out and building up your client list, anything like that?
Yeah,
what would you say to them?
I think I was really lucky that at the time I kind of made this leap that social media was exploding. So it was like in the beginning stages of, we didn't even really know what social media was at the time. So, you know, I was very fortunate that it coincided with that timing, but I don't think I did anything necessarily different. I followed my curiosity, which I think is one of the most important pieces of advice that I could give to anyone else and also to my younger self. It's like, you follow the things you love, you do the things you love. And don't be afraid to like step outside of a box that you may put yourself in. You know, at the time when I started out, I tried every style of photography. I mean, everything, because I wanted to know what it was that I wanted to make my career.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought, oh, do I have to be a wedding photographer or do I have to be a commercial photographer? Do I have to choose right now? And the best thing I ever gave myself was like the permission to follow curiosity. I think that was the best decision I made. And I think that speaks to the multidisciplinary aspect of my work. And if there are other people out there that are kind of wondering what direction they should go in, you know, just kind of follow it all because you never know where it's going to take you. It's fun. It's fun to see the places you end up.
I always find it so funny during these conversations. A lot of times the guests will lead me right into my next question. And funny enough, I wanted to ask you, as a multidisciplinary artist, you're working in all of these different mediums, but how did you identify the mediums that spoke to you most?
I think for me, I mean, like this is definitely a part of me being Australian, but nature is such an intrinsic part of my entire existence. And I mean, all of us, I mean, we are nature, like we are a part of nature. But I think for me, it was, you know, growing up in Australia, they plopped me in the water at 6 months old. Salt water is like in my DNA, you know? So it was like a combination of things. I loved diving. So I was like, the underwater world is magical. How do I photograph it? Yeah. You know, I love the human experience. I love people. So naturally gravitated towards people and documenting and photographing people. And then the other component, I guess, is like there's wildlife in there, there's landscapes, there's travel. It's all kind of like coming together around this nature component. And I think it's very intrinsic to who I am. And it was never like a decision that I was going to focus on these things. It was just, these are the things I love. Yeah. These are the things that light me up. These are the reasons why I want to lift my camera. So why not try it all, do it all?
It's, again, just leading right into the next question. But though your work crosses different mediums, I feel like it all comes back to nature. What is it about nature that interests you most?
I mean, it's so raw and powerful, and I think it's such a mirror of like our existence. And I think there's this really beautiful thought process of we are so significant and insignificant on this timeline. And it's just recognizing that documenting this time and space is so important, connecting us all back to, we live in such a busy society. Everything's so noisy. And like being able to photograph the natural world not only brings a piece to myself, but I hope something that I can connect to other people with. And I hope that when they may connect with my work, that they feel inspired to return to nature and to be connected to nature in this really busy modern world that we live in. So I think it's just it's so beautiful and enigmatic, and I don't know what it is that I'm trying to capture other than like its raw beauty and kind of remind everyone that that's out there.
You started to touch on this, but the underwater photography, I'd love to talk about it.
Sure.
How did your work with underwater photography begin?
Okay.
When did you know, like, this is something I really want to explore?
So what's actually funny is my first SLR was, I bought it, I saved, I worked and saved to buy this SLR so I could put it in an underwater housing when I was 18. I went on a liveaboard trip on the Great Barrier Reef, and I was enamored by the Great Barrier Reef. And then I was like, I'm going to be a dive master. I want to do underwater photography. Like, this is amazing to me. So I saved for that camera specifically to do underwater photography, and life took me in a totally different direction, but it never left my side. It was what I would do on my weekends or in the morning before work, or whenever the tides were good. Whenever I could get in the ocean and photograph, I would. But I guess it was just like, the ocean is my soul happy place. It is for me. I love the mountains. I love nature. I love it all. But the ocean is like my happiest place. And so being in there, documenting how beautiful the underwater world is, it just kind of, it found me at a young age, but it still hasn't left, I suppose, is the way to round that out. Yeah. Now,
you do document wildlife underwater.
Yes.
However, a lot of times you place human subjects underwater, and it has almost this ephemeral feel to it.
Thank you.
When you're placing human subjects in an underwater environment, is there something specific that you're trying to explore between almost the duality of placing a being that's supposed to be on land now in that space that is almost unnatural to them, but the way that you document them feels so natural?
Thank you.
Of course.
Absolutely. I'm trying to capture femininity. I'm trying to capture this like returning to water component, like being held by water, and a sense of like weightlessness. I'm trying to really explore movement and fluidity and connection in an environment that is in some sense foreign to the way that we exist on land. But in another sense, we go back to this knowingness that water is where we came from. And it's kind of like this connection back. And our body knows what to do when we're in water. You know, as soon as the water hits here, the mammalian dive reflex is ignited, and we know how to be held underwater. And I'm kind of trying to celebrate women, femininity, strength, weightlessness. It's all encompassing. That's why I love putting females under the water, and I really love to put fabric under the water, even though in some way, you know, we don't wear clothes under the water. Most people wear swimsuits or what are they called? I'm blanking on it.
No worries.
But you know, wearing clothes underwater doesn't necessarily make sense. Yeah. But it makes art. And
I was going to say, it almost feels natural in your imagery, though, seeing the clothing underwater. It's creating texture. It's wrapping the subject around it. So it feels very intentional when you do it.
It is. Beautiful. Thank you.
Another layer to that, too, is not only do you have to be skilled underwater, but your subject also has to be. What does the process look like for identifying the right people to be a part of these images and these underwater projects?
I mean, a lot of the women that I've photographed underwater are very in touch with the relationship of water, and I think a lot of them are actually Australian. There is a grace that my subjects have under the water that I do not possess. It is me underwater. I'm floundering around, you know, I've got a lot going on. I'm also holding my breath and holding the camera down. But there is like a way that these women hold their face and hold their fingers, and just, it's like art. They are so comfortable in that zone. I guess the thing that I'm identifying is like, their connection to the water, their comfortability in the water, and their sort of like freedom of expression to do what they want under the water as well. That's kind of like one of the collaborative processes of this, is this is kind of the vision. What do you think about it? What do you want to do when we get down there? And then it's all about timing, which is the hardest part to coordinate when you can't communicate.
Yeah.
You have to communicate on the surface. And then for me, it's a process of surrender. It unfolds naturally, and I go with it as it unfolds. There's always a preconceived idea, and then it always comes back to surrender because it changes. And I think when you're able to surrender and let it evolve, that's when the creativity can sort of come to fruition, and the art is made from that kind of process of surrender. And that's very interesting because it takes surrender to enter some of those deep water spaces and be comfortable.
Speaking about surrender as well, when you're in these situations, you're going in with an intention of what you're hoping to capture. But has there ever been a moment where nature almost takes over, where it's either wildlife has presented itself or the ocean has done something that changes your intention in a direction? Is there any moment or couple of moments that sticks out to you?
Absolutely. I think like anytime you're entering nature, anything can happen. And it's still a lesson I'm learning. It's like you have to let go of your preconceived ideas. That's hard when you're on a job or you have a certain assignment. You definitely want the best because you want to present your best and you want the ideas to come alive. But I think the most important thing that nature teaches you is that it's like divine timing. It will work out. And to answer your question, there's been times where, I've wanted to photograph humpback whales and I haven't seen one. Or there's been times when I've had a woman with me under the water and then all of a sudden I have a manta ray coming close to us in a mating dance. So there's 2 manta rays. And, I'm just enamored with these beings coming towards me in their mating dance, and I'm between worlds here, So it's I try and look at everything as a gift and as a lesson. And I think, as I said, I'm still learning that when you go outside, you're going to receive that lesson. You have to surrender and just be excited for it to develop in the way that it does and to embrace it, because that's also part of the magic, is that you can't control everything. And, some things just happen naturally, and that's such a gift, especially with the ocean, especially with wildlife. You could never, ever dream or conceptualize some of these encounters that you have, and when they happen, you just have to be present and embrace it.
I love that.
Thank you.
Now, it's an intense environment trying to photograph underwater. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about, what does the preparation look like for that when you're about to go on a project and you have an idea of what you want to create? I'm sure there's a lot of prep to make sure that you're ready to capture whatever it is that's presented to you.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it comes down to trust in your gear. You're putting your prized possession under the water. And there are the bars of pressure that physically happen, like on a physical level, to your body and to everything that's going on when you're underwater. You lose color underwater. So the preparation obviously is in trusting the team, in communication with the talent, making sure that the camera's ready in the housing. I try not to remove it from the housing, that it's all sealed and vacuum seal, and trusting that when I get under there that I've got all of the settings appropriate to capture those moments as they unfold, because there is no process where you could say to the manta rays, can you just swing by and do that again? I missed it. You really have to rely on knowing and connecting with your camera to capture those moments. You have to trust the gear that you're using. And so the preparation is a lot above the surface. And then again, it's back to surrender, because it unfolds and happens when you're under there. The physiological component is breath work. When I lived in Australia, I would free dive train 2 times a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. I now, unfortunately, don't have a community where I live, but I was putting my body in positions that would allow me to test my limits and test my strength and understand my threshold for being underwater, holding my breath, so that when I would be on the job, I would know. And I think it's really important to know your limits and also to understand the environment that you're in. You're in nature. You need to not push it and respect respect your body, respect the limits, but also know what you're capable of. So I used to freedive train not to achieve any of the freediving components, but to help me in my photography journey, to help me understand where I could allow that process of surrender and trust myself in order to be comfortable and present to make those photos come to fruition.
For those who want to get started in underwater photography, where do you even begin? What advice would you have for those people out there?
I would say find the community to train, to learn, if it's scuba diving or free diving. And always find it. I mean, the number one rule is have your safety buddy. In every single photo that you have seen of underwater, there is a safety buddy. You don't dive alone, ever. And I take that very seriously. I think that, again, growing up in Australia, it was the number one thing that I was taught is like respect the ocean, respect the environment that you're in. And I think that is why I will always have a safety buddy there. But I think that allows you to then kind of explore what it is that you love about the underwater world. Maybe it's macro, maybe it's nudibranchs, maybe it's coral, maybe it's big mammals, maybe it's shore, like surfers and you're shooting down the wave. There's so many endless possibilities and you can follow all of them, try them all. But having the experience and the knowledge of, diving, scuba or free diving, and then someone to go with and be safe and enjoy it. Yeah. Just get started, I guess, just do it.
Has there been a moment underwater with or without your camera? 'Cause I think the funny thing about photography is the moment you don't have your camera, sometimes something incredible presents itself to you. Yes. What has been the most magical moment for you that you've experienced underwater?
I was free dive training out on the east coast of Australia. So free dive training is where you line dive. So you're attempting to go to certain depths. And we dropped a line in, and I think we were, at the time, it was around, I'm trying to convert to feet, but it was around 26 meters that we were going for. So almost 90 feet, perhaps. Don't quote me on that. And 5 juvenile male humpback whales surrounded us for 45 minutes. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I was in the water when they came and they surrounded us for 45 minutes. I was able to look into a humpback whale's eyes. I felt there was this moment where I was like, this is a soul thing. And I mean, surprised to no one, I was bawling my eyes out because I was overwhelmed with gratitude and just, you could never conjure up such an amazing encounter. That's out of my wildest dreams. And I was so present and in awe of these mammals that were, I don't even know how many times the size of myself, and so graceful. And they chose the interaction. They chose the encounter. That was not something that we were seeking. We were doing something entirely different. And that was one of my best days on the ocean ever. And I didn't even know that was going to happen that day. So many gifts. Remarkable. Yeah.
And it's so interesting, cross species, just the blend of curiosity. You're diving into the ocean because you're curious, but then these humpback whales are just as curious to see what's happening around them. And that almost goes back to the art of photography and curiosity and what it is that you're exploring. But that's remarkable. And now I really want to join you underwater.
Please do. Please do.
Now, I guess this is one of my final questions about your underwater photography, but obviously you're shooting on land too. Do you change your approach to how you photograph when you are underwater? How does that shift for you?
On land, I shoot manual focus. Under the water, I don't always shoot manual focus. And I think that's important. Again, it goes back to trusting your equipment and trusting yourself and knowing what the best settings are for you in such a dynamic environment. I think on land, we have more of an appropriate time to change settings. Or not with wildlife, but you can do another take. Definitely not with wildlife, but underwater, you don't get that second chance. So I think the thing that I learned really early on is that if I'm putting auto ISO on, or if I'm doing something that's automated, I'm actually choosing to trust my camera that it will do what I need it to do, instead of having that almost ego of, no, I have to shoot in manual mode. You know, it's like, it's a process of choosing what is the best way that I can help myself achieve what I'm trying to do, and setting yourself up for having the settings that you need for the appropriate environment. And that's such a dynamic environment. So whatever you can do to help yourself succeed, instead of getting caught up in the shoulds, I think it's really important.
I love that. And it just sounds like in that environment, you're surrendering to your environment, but then you're also surrendering to your gear and hoping that it's able to capture what you're hoping to see.
Yeah, the trust is so important in both senses.
Yeah. It's amazing. And like I said before, I was just so curious about your underwater photography. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Shifting gears a little bit, you also document a significant amount of wildlife.
Yes.
What is it that attracts you to documenting animals in their natural environment?
Again, I think it's just a love and a curiosity. Growing up in Australia, there's a huge component. There's, you know, at high school, I would look out the window and I'd see a koala. I'd look out on the football field and there was kangaroos. I mean, it's so intrinsic. But when I moved to North America, I realized that there are a lot of mammals, land mammals, that I've never seen, and things that I've dreamed of seeing. And I think it comes back to like a curiosity. My idols growing up were, you know, Steve Irwin and Jane Goodall. You know, I had a lot of naturalists, David Attenborough, that I looked up to, not necessarily from a photography point of view. I also have photography idols, but just from humans out there making a difference in this world. And I think that kind of, then I combined both of my curiosities, like my love for nature, my love for animals, and then realizing that like I could merge that with photography. And so I would say, if I had to bring it back down to one thing, it was just I'm curious about these subjects that I get to photograph, and I just follow that. And that's led me to some really remote and unique destinations all over the world. And I've been able to see some of my dream and have some of my dream encounters. But it all comes back to a curiosity. I just want to try. I want to know. I want to see if I can have that encounter in that moment, and if I could create some art and connect people. Because it does also have an underlying thing of like, we do protect what we know. And, you know, if my photography can speak to that without words, if it can kind of connect people to nature and learn about the subjects and learn about what's going on with their habitats and want to make a difference, I really hope that that's something that can translate through. It is a big component of what I do. I think it's a very powerful medium to connect people. And I don't necessarily have to spell it out. I think like if it touches someone else, they may intrinsically just be curious, follow that, and go and learn and want to help too. Yeah.
Well, I think you're succeeding in doing that.
Thank you.
Of course.
That's a big honor.
Of course. When documenting wildlife, I'm sure you're selecting your locations with an intention. Do you set out with an intention when you're going out to shoot, or do you allow moments to present themselves to you?
Yeah, I would say it's both. But on the certain trips that I think that you're referencing, it's definitely intentional. I'm definitely going to a specific destination with the hope of an encounter, because with everything, they might not turn up. You might not see it. And that's a component of this, is that like, you know, you might not receive that thing that you're looking for, but you might find something else. And that's why I say it's both, because you have to be willing to sort of see what else is around there. But definitely going out with intention, definitely going out with other people in the field who have experience, whether it be guides, biologists. There are people who are interested in working with a photographer and sort of like coming together to tell that story. And it's very intentional with the work that I think that you're referencing with my wildlife. It's very intentional in hopes that I may be able to have that encounter and photograph it.
We've discussed your most impactful moment underwater, but now shifting to the land, and you've captured some incredible moments, whether it be foxes and their kits out in their own environment. And then the one image that always sticks out of my mind is that incredible shot you got of the bear that looks like it's almost staring into your soul.
Yeah.
But has there been a moment with wildlife that you've captured that's deeply connected with you?
Absolutely. And you know what's funny? It was with my iPhone.
Really?
I was on a boat in the San Juan Islands, and I got the last seat of the day, the last ride of summer. My favorite animal in the world is an orca. And, you know, this conversation started with my husband, Ryan. He said, what do you want to do today? And I said, I want to see an orca. Because I'm like, that's what I want to do, you know. And it sparked this, well, why don't you see if you can get on this boat? Like, if you're being serious, you know. And so there was the last seat. I got it. I'm on this boat. I'm out in the water in the Strait of Juan de Fuca. I have 2 telephoto lenses on me because the regulations, it's really important with wildlife to follow the regulations, and obviously the boat does. But they're always far away when you see an orca. If you're ever lucky enough to see it, they are far away. And I remember at the time not taking my Q3 because I was like, they're going to be 100 feet.
Yeah.
You know, I won't need it. So I'm out there. I've got my two different camera bodies, my 2 telephoto lenses. I'm excited. And we are sitting in the ocean, turn the engine off, and there is a pod of orcas who are celebrating, and they celebrate when they have a meal to share with their family. And then the matriarch turns toward the boat and starts coming towards us. And it's called mugging. It's a very playful and curious encounter. So it's not scary. It's not dangerous. And you're not allowed to turn the engine. You have to stay there. You cannot move when you don't know where the animals are. And so they come up to us, and we're in a zodiac. And a zodiac, for people who don't know, is very close to the water. You could put your arm in. That's how, you know, there's not many people on this boat. You're just so close you could physically touch it. And again, this encounter is called mugging. And this pod of orcas chose to come up to our boat. They were underneath us. They were breathing, and rainbows, I'm not kidding, there were rainbows coming from their breath. And every single person on the boat was crying. The only camera I could use was my phone, because they were too close for my telephoto lens to focus. And again, there was this moment where an orca went past, like underneath the boat, and was looking up at me, and I was looking into its eye, and we were just staring at each other. And it was like everything was silent. I don't know where time went. It was amazing. And it, you know, not the photo that I wanted to see, but the encounter of my dreams. Yeah. Every single person, including the skipper, was crying because everyone was so moved by their curiosity to come to us, and by they chose to spend time with us. And it was amazing. Life-changing.
Like just an incredible moment. And I'm curious to know too, you have these incredible experiences, and I'm sure you have your camera on you almost all the time, but is there ever moments that happen where you actually choose not to take the photo and just immerse yourself in it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I very much, in all of these moments, want to be a participant first. You know, I want to remember it with my eyes and not always through my lens. There are times when I also go out on a hike. I love to hike, and I'll just go specifically for the experience of hiking. Most of the time, as you said, I do have my camera on me, but it's an active choice to not pick it up and not photograph that one moment, to actually observe it and feel it in every scenario, because I think that makes for better photography. I think when you're connected and a participant, you're an observer, you're very aware of the moment that you're in. Not only do you get to like experience that through your eyes and through your heart, but you know, then there's the photographer side of me that's like, well, now I can document it in a way that I've noticed something about their characteristics or about their mannerisms or something that would make this impactful because I've observed them first as a human and as a photographer. So I think it's really important to enjoy it, like really be present. It's it's a gift.
I think that's the best piece of advice, especially as photographers. Your mind goes to, I need to get the shot.
Yeah.
But sometimes the experience is more important than having the photo.
Absolutely. And like that orca story I just told you, I didn't really get a photo, but I got an experience of my dreams. And that's so much more.
Much more special.
Yeah.
Now, we're speaking about orcas. And I know you've shared with me in the past that you've had this dream since you were a little girl. And if we're able to touch on it, I'd love to speak about what you're hoping to do, I believe in September.
In November. Yep, that's okay. I am going to Norway. This is my number one dream in the world, to photograph, hopefully, an orca in Norway. And it's November. It's finally booked. I have been dreaming about this over 20 years. As I said, nothing is given. I'm hopeful that we will find some orcas, but it is one of the places in the world where you're legally allowed to be in the water with orcas, and obviously Norway is very cognizant of what's important for the animal, and it's one of the places where you're able to have an encounter in the water with them. And it's been my dream, as I said, 20 years, and I'm almost in disbelief that it's booked. I'm almost like, it means so much to me that I can't believe that it's going to happen this year. And in a way, I could have maybe done it 10 years ago. I could have maybe, made it happen earlier, but I think there is a reason why I've waited until this time of my life to do it. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be putting the Q3 in a sub 13 housing, and the Q343. That's my choice of camera for this expedition, and I'm just really excited. Not necessarily for the photos, but for the experience. I know I'm going to cry. I assume the first time that I encounter this, if I'm able to be lucky enough to be in the water with them, I assume it's going to be an out-of-body experience, and something that I am very hopeful to have and very, very excited, which is why I think it's almost like it doesn't feel real yet. Yeah. Because it's maybe indescribable, Liz. I will be overjoyed if I could have this experience, and hopefully if I could have some photos to share too of these beautiful animals.
I'm so excited for you, and
Thank you.
I'm quite sure if there's any person who's going to be able to have this experience, it's going to be you.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to see the photos, but I'm even more excited to hear about the actual experience.
Yeah, me too.
I'd love to know, now that it's fully booked and we know it's happening, where did this dream begin, and where did this connection to orcas kind of come from? The
orca connection, I'm not sure. It's been an obsession since I was a little girl. Yeah. I really don't know where, maybe it's an apex predator thing. I'm not entirely sure. I've always I love sharks. Yeah. I love animals. I'm very, very Australian in my love for animals. But the orca thing is I can't pinpoint it. I don't know where it came from. I do remember reading a Nat Geo article one day when I was a teenager, and I think that kind of sparked this that's possible. Yeah. And I think that's kind of where this dream came to life. It was at the time, I now fortunately have seen the Northern Lights, but at the time it was you can go somewhere and see the Northern Lights and the orcas in fjords, in the ocean, like that. If you could, that sounds like rainbows and unicorns. You know what I mean? It's that sounds unreal. What do you mean there's a place like that exists? So I think that's where that dream kind of unfolded, is that I didn't know it was possible. And then I sort of started thinking oh, I want to do that one day. And here we are 20 years later, and I haven't done it yet. But I think it was, if I could pinpoint it, it might be that. But it's always been an obsession, a love. Orcas have just been something that I've gravitated towards. So I don't really know why.
Well, I'm so excited for you regardless. But
thank you.
Now your photography is taking you to Norway to go be with the orcas. And it's taking you all over the world. And I'm curious to know if there's one place that has been the most special for you to go and document.
Oh, it's such a hard question. There's so many places I love. I feel like I'm a person that has a lot of favorites.
Yeah.
My first time to Nepal was very, very special. I absolutely love being in Nepal, documenting the Nepalese people and their kindness and their hospitality and their reverence for nature, their reverence for like Mother Earth, the feeling of being in Nepal, like everything about it. I would say it's definitely one of my favorite places on Earth. And then there's like Greenland. I got the opportunity to go to East Greenland and experience some of the most wild and vast and beautiful landscapes and incredible people. And it's so different from everything I've ever known in Australia. You know, like I don't know sea ice. I don't know these mountains that rise straight out of the sea. It's so different from the landscape that I grew up in, and it is intoxicatingly beautiful. So I would say that Greenland is one of my dream destinations that I've been fortunate enough to go to and to document. I have a lot of favorites, but those are the two so far that have just really made a big impact on me as a person. There's a lot of other countries that I'm yet to go to that I would love to experience, but I have been very fortunate to have the privilege to travel with photography and to experience different cultures and experience some of the most remote and beautiful destinations all over the world, or places all over the world. And I feel very fortunate to have some of those experiences in my lifetime. Yeah.
In your journey as a photographer, what, if anything, has photography taught you about yourself?
That's a great question. I think my biggest struggle in life is confidence. And I think that photography has given me a sense of confidence that I can connect. You know, I think that I struggle with my sense of self and my sense of self-confidence. And I think that when I am able to connect through this medium that doesn't necessarily have words, it reminds me that I have that ability and that I can truly connect with people and places and animals, thankfully. But like, it has given me the gift of connection, I would say. Yeah.
With photography being kind of a connection point for you, is there one connection that you've made through it that sticks out to you most, whether it be a person, with wildlife, or any of the sort?
There's been so many moments in my life where I can't believe that this has happened. But, you know, the thing that I actually want to say here is that, like, I met my husband through photography. You know, through this little screen on our phone, we were connected through photography, and he hired me on an incredible project that changed my life. And so, you know, if I didn't say that meeting the love of my life through photography wasn't one of the most important things, then I don't know what is. But as I said, there's been many, many incredible encounters or experiences or just like moments where I'm almost just in awe that I get to have those. And without photography, I don't even know if I would live in North America. You know, there's been things that have just led me in ways that I would never know. But that has definitely been a very special thing to come out of being a photographer and connecting with other photographers around the world, is that I met my husband.
It's an incredible story too.
Yeah, it is an
One
incredible
day it might
long
have to
story.
Be a movie.
It's a long story. Everyone we tell is like, is that a movie yet?
Yeah. Well, you have to keep that to yourself. Write a script and then we'll get it made.
Okay.
I think this is a great segue for us to actually go and take a look at some of your photography. And with that, I'd love to go to our Unframed segment here, where we will dive in to some of your imagery. And it makes me very happy to go into immediately the underwater photography here that we were touching on earlier. And for our audience that is listening audio only right now, I'd love to describe the image that we're looking at on the screen here. As I said, we are currently underwater. And in the frame here, from about the left-hand bottom third of the frame, almost inching into the middle third of the frame here, we have a woman diving and coming up into the top portion of the frame, beams of light coming in. As I said earlier, it feels very ephemeral, ethereal. And it almost looks like she's going towards something. And then on the right-hand third of the frame, it looks that we have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, but some sort of reef over to the right-hand side here. But I'd love to go into this image. Tell me a little bit about the background and how it came to life.
So the subject there, and that was a beautiful description, by the way, they are cliffs. It is a brackish lake, which means that fresh water sits on top of the ocean water, and it is in the Philippines. And the woman in the photo is a dear friend of mine, Brinkley, and she is a badass conservationist, surfer, wildlife warrior, free diver. She is just an incredible human, and we have had the opportunity to work together in many capacities, and she is someone that inspires me, and to have the opportunity to photograph her in her element is a big honor. So we went to the Philippines. On this particular day, we went to this lake, and I remember tying a weight to my camera, so to my housing, because I was so buoyant that I kept coming up. So the lake is roughly around 30 meters, 100 feet deep. And I remember not having a way to secure my camera to myself. And I had a weight on the camera. So I was diving down. I was going before Brinkley, diving down, and you have to really propel yourself. So you have to like push the camera down, and you have big fins, and dive down there. And I wanted to backlight her. I kind of wanted her to be ascending into the light. That was really like an important component of conceptualizing this photo. And I also had the thought of like, I cannot drop my camera, because if I drop my camera, we're going 30 meters or 100 feet to retrieve it because of the weight that I had tied to it. So it was a challenging shot because of the elemental components. Brinkley is one of the people that I mentioned is eternally graceful underwater, which is very difficult to do. And that day, I feel like it was a convergence of conditions. You know, this was like one of those times when everything aligned, and the photograph that I had envisioned took a little bit to get to, like elementary wise, like in terms of like in the experience, but it wasn't hard because it just converged and came together. And, you know, without Brinkley in that photo, it is a beautiful lake with beautiful light. But her strength and her grace and her power, I hope, celebrates the incredible human that she is. And that was my intention with this photograph.
I would say it 100% does. I mean, if you remove her, it's still an incredible image, but I think she adds so much to the photo, and it evokes emotion. It's almost like you're reaching out to get somewhere or to find something. And it's just an incredible image.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And we'll move on to the next one we have here. And again, underwater. This makes me so excited. And this one's so interesting too. To describe for our audio audience again, the image that we're looking at here. Again, we are underwater, and there's almost this beautiful convergence between darkness and light. In the foreground, we have this beautiful portions of light that are in the middle lower third, inching into the right lower third. And they're almost like pockets of light there. And I'm really interested to hear where this light source is coming from. And in the middle third of the frame here, we again have a female, this time clothed in what looks like a dress, and it's wrapping around her. And again, it looks like she's reaching towards something with little sprinkles of light in the middle third of the frame, and it starts to fade off towards the top third. What was happening in this image?
So what's really funny about this image is she's in the water and I'm not. So we set out exactly what you described. It was about the light and darkness, and it was about going towards the light. So for around 4 hours, we were in this cenote, enjoying, loving, just having, and we were so lucky that we had this experience with very few other people in the cenote. This is a dear friend of mine, Jessie, and she was visiting me from Australia, and we made a spontaneous trip to go and make some art. So we flew over to Tulum to make art, and it was, honestly, we booked it maybe 36 hours beforehand. Wow. And so we were exploring, as you said, you know, the light, the darkness, kind of like that duality between the two. And we were actually photographing underwater with light rays and kind of like the similar, like there's a beam of light and there's darkness on the exterior. And we were really focusing on movement and fluidity and shutter speeds. We were having a lot of fun experimenting. As I said, we got lost in time. We were there for about 4 hours. And I kept noticing with the cenote, the light comes down through a hole at the top of the cave. And so the beam of light moves. And I kept noticing that over to my right, there was a ladder that you could climb and a platform that people would jump off. So I for the last, and also I'm the photographer that's like, just one more.
Yep.
And it's never one more. But I'm noticing, okay, we're going to start losing the light. We should probably think about wrapping this up. We've got some incredible images. And this was not one that I had conceptualized, but something kept telling me, you've got to climb that ladder.
Yeah.
I've got to just go and even just see what it looks like up there. So I climbed the ladder very haphazardly, not graceful at all, with with a housing, and a housing is quite heavy in one hand. And I get to the top of the ladder and I realize that I'm looking down on, that is the reflection of light. Mm-hmm. And this to me is also a celebration of imperfections, because what you're actually seeing there is water on the lens. That's what's refracting. That's what that light, those orbs, is something on the front of the lens. Wow. Right? And so I didn't know that this photo was going to be made. I just followed that instinct as I have to go up there. And then I embraced the fact that there was water on my lens. Mm. And I used it to create this feeling of, as you described so well, is like the light and the in the darkness. And I had no idea that this image was going to come to fruition. Mm. I just knew, don't wipe the lens, embrace it. There is a reason that there is water here, and there is a reason that you for hours kept saying, I've got to climb that ladder, I've got to climb that ladder. And this is the result. And that's one of those times where you can't plan everything. And that actually ended up being my favorite image of the day. And one of my favorite images that I've created, I think it also celebrates the human that I know Jessie to be. She's a very beautiful human. And it embodies to me womanhood and femininity. And I think that's a story of just following the curiosity there. Thank you.
It's so beautiful too how the world will sometimes present what you're looking for without you even knowing it.
Absolutely. And that's why you have to go with it. There's something telling you climb that ladder or whatever it is, do it safely. But if there's something that's in your gut, I really think you have to follow that. Mm. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
And we'll go to the third here. Yes. Oh, this makes me so happy.
I have to say, I put this one here for you.
We did touch on this earlier, but I'm so excited to see this in our Unframed segment because I've been curious about this photograph for so long. For our audio-only audience, this is the image of the bear that we were speaking about earlier that seems as if it's staring into your soul. Now, from the right-hand third of the frame, edging in diagonally across to the left-hand bottom third of the frame, we have some form of foliage that's a bit darker, but right behind it, taking up the rest of the frame, is this gorgeous bear who's looking directly into the lens with one eye at Melissa. How did this image come to life? And how did you have the composure to stay in that moment?
So I need to preface that this is in Southwest Alaska. Mm. This is a coastal brown bear. Mm. And I went on a camping trip with a bunch of other photographers in the pursuit of photographing brown bears. So this was a very intentional mission. And in this part of the national park, there are regulations that you have to stay 50 yards from the animal. So this is photographed with a telephoto lens. This is still a wild animal. This is a coastal brown bear. So just putting that out there that this is a beautiful apex predator and we are in their environment. And this photo is cropped in. I also want to say that, obviously just for people who may be wanting to photograph wildlife, it is very important to follow those regulations. But on this particular afternoon, I think we might have been roughly around day 8 or day 9 of having incredible encounters with brown bears. And we went up to just enjoy the lake. And my friends that I was with, they're all photographers. Some of them didn't bring their camera. Some of them were fly fishing. I don't fish. I took my camera and I was enjoying the lapping of the water, looking at the mountains off in the distance. This was my first time in Alaska. And we were just kind of like having an afternoon off. But I decided to bring my camera with me, as most people would in that situation. And I was watching my friends fish. And I have to say, I turned around and I was like, oh my gosh, there is a brown bear right there. And did the quick calculation. I was like, okay, I'm within the regulation, so I'm not too close. I lifted my camera. And what you're actually seeing in this moment is the bear realizing that there's humans in its fishing spot.
Oh my God.
And it is observing and watching us as we turn and notice it. And it was like a moment of connection. Like, I do remember having this moment of looking into the bear's eyes as it's posed or poised here, lifting my camera, taking maybe 3 photos, and then backing away because I didn't want to interfere with the bear's natural habitat. It's there to eat. It's going into winter. It's like trying to stockpile calories here. So I captured this photo and I backed away. You never turn your back, so you're backing away. And after this moment, it's very intense and I think it's very powerful and kind of formidable. But what the bear actually did was it jumped in the water and started fishing. And we were down the shore, probably about 100 yards at that point, and it was just enjoying its meal. And so it was like a unexpected moment of connection that also led to coexistence, because afterwards, after this moment was captured, we were just simply coexisting in this space with a coastal brown bear, which is just like unbelievable. But that's how that image came to fruition. I didn't, and I couldn't have never have planned for that kind of like peeking around the foliage. You could never imagine a bear walking out there, I wasn't waiting for it. It just happened, and I was fortunate enough to witness it, feel it, capture it, and then enjoy it. So it's also one of my favorite photos I've ever captured.
I was going to say, it's definitely one of my favorite photos. All three of these are some of my favorite photos that you've captured. And I'm so happy that we got to share this with our community audience so that they could know a little bit more behind it. And moving away from that, I'd love to do another segment that I didn't warn you about.
Okay.
That is going to be a bit of fun, but we call this the rapid fire segment.
Okay.
So what I'd like you to think about in this moment is the first thing that comes to your mind after this question.
Okay.
Answer it with your heart.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. I'm a little nervous, but I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Who's your biggest inspiration?
Oh, Jane Goodall.
Beautiful. One place to photograph for the rest of your life?
Australia.
One camera?
M6.
Love it. And that's a great segue, because I was going to ask, what is your preference between, as a photographer who's using digital and film, what is your favorite for your own work and your personal?
M6 is my dream camera.
So it is film through and through.
Absolutely. It's my dream camera, and it probably doesn't allow me to photograph wildlife. But it's a feeling that I don't know how to describe. There is something that this tool, it's just, I love it. It's something that maybe brings me back full circle to the teenager that picked up a film camera, like a 35mm camera. There's something like that brings me back to my roots, to my origin, to my presence in like this space as a human. And so that's why I would say that. There's obviously other tools that I could use that would be different underwater, or different lenses that I could use to photograph wildlife. It would change the way I photograph wildlife, but I still believe I could do it. But M6, that's I am so privileged to have this dream camera.
Well, we're so happy that you have it too.
Thank you.
As a film person, that made my day.
Yeah. Good.
And then as we begin to wrap up here, I have one question that I always love to ask people. If you could say one thing to your younger self, what would it be?
Stop worrying. I think that we have to have everything figured out. And I could have never dreamed that photography would change my life in the way that it did. And that I could embrace an art form. And even like as a woman, that I could have a space in this community. I could never have envisioned it. So I would say just enjoy it and see where it takes you, because it takes you to some really incredible places. And I feel very honored to be in this space. It's a huge privilege for me to be able to have conversations like this, to hopefully share my work with other people that it may connect with, and other people that it may inspire to follow the thing it is that they love. And it doesn't necessarily have to be photography. It could be anything, but I really hope to tell my younger self that it works out if you take that leap, and hopefully that resonates with someone else too.
I appreciate you sharing that. And just to say, you are an inspiration, and everything that you're doing is incredible. And I'm so grateful that your photography, and just the art form in general brought us together.
Thank you.
And on that kind of note, I'd love to give you the opportunity to shout out a creative that you admire, who's up and coming, that you'd like to share their work with our audience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Alif Kotiuk is one of my friends and dear inspiration. She just won Emerging Filmmaker of the Year. But her soulfulness as a human, as a photographer, as a filmmaker is incredibly inspiring to me. The way that she puts women in positions of power and tells really powerful stories is very inspiring. And she is just herself. She is a vision. I love sitting in her presence and hearing the way that her mind works, and hearing the way that she sees the world and photographs and creates films about very important things. So I would definitely say my friend Alif. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I hope to get to meet her. She sounds like an inspiration herself.
She truly is. You'd love her.
Well, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to sit and speak with you. And I'm just so excited to see what else you go out and create.
Thank you. The honor is mine. I very much appreciate this time and space with you. And you're a wonderful human being. And I
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this.